Hi, AP Lang. All right, today we're going to talk about your assignment for Stephen King's On Writing. Stephen King is one of my favorite authors, one of the only authors that his books are way too scary for me to sometimes finish, but I love him. I think he's a brilliant mind, and I love his take on writing. I highly recommend his book. This is an excerpt from his book, which we are getting ready to read and analyze today. So you'll click on this PDF by Stephen King. It'll either come up in your downloads, which it is in mine, and why this blue arrow is highlighted, or it'll just pop right up. So you're going to look at this excerpt by Stephen King. You'll read it, and then it stops right here. Do not continue on to read Write, I Write by George Orwell, another one of my favorite authors. You'll read him at a later date. So, as you read this excerpt by Stephen King, What Writing Is, you are going to think about and answer the following questions. So what I would do is I would have a notebook like this, a piece of paper, maybe have a Word document and have your screen split, whatever method works best for you. I'm a pen and paper kind of gal, and so I would be writing these down. All right, you're going to answer the following questions while you read. What is the author's purpose or goal for writing this essay? So think about, what does Stephen King want his audience to learn or believe or do as a result of reading this essay? Sometimes it will be all three. Sometimes they want you to learn something, believe something, or do something all together. Other times it might just be one of the above or two of the three. That's up to you to figure out. So, what is the author's purpose or goal for writing this essay? That's the first thing you want to uncover. Sometimes the purpose and goal is really apparent and you notice it right away. Other times you have to read the essay multiple times to really understand the purpose. But make sure you understand it. Don't go for the surface level purpose. Don't say, so we understand his point. You didn't tell us his point. Make sure you dive in. Then number 2, how does the author attempt to relate to his or her audience? Think, does the author include specific examples, trying to articulate what they mean? Does he or she speak directly to the audience? Do they use language that they think the audience can relate to, such as jargon or vernacular? Jargon is language specific to a group of people, like teenagers have specific jargon that no one else understands who are outside of their group. Vernacular is language specific to a specific industry or profession. Does the author try and reach the emotional needs, values, or ethics of his or her audience? So think about when we read Malcolm X and when we read Green. They talked about things specifically that their audience knew about, had experienced, or just was really close to their own personal values to try and relate and persuade their audience. You're going to see if King does the same thing. All right, number 3. What are the major takeaways, aka what stood out to you? And did you take note of while reading this essay? So think about, what choices as a writer did Stephen King make that made an impact on you? What stood out? What did you really enjoy? And then what did you learn about writing from reading this essay? This is an essay on writing. Hopefully you learned a bit. I know I learned a lot when I read it. So think about, what lessons did the author try and bestow upon you that they believe to be important and or useful in your own writing? All right. This is step 1. Make sure you're taking lots of notes and annotating. You're really going to need them. All right, now step 2 for the assignment. You are going to write a discussion board in which you talk about all the things that you just took notes over and that you analyzed while reading this text. What you did prior is called annotating. We're going to practice annotation a lot, and we're going to get really good at it. But everything that we read, we need to read like a writer. We need to annotate it. We need to think like a writer. We need to look at choices. So you're going to answer all of the questions that you just jotted down. Author's purpose, how did the author attempt to relate to the audience, what are the major takeaways, and what did you learn about writing from reading this essay? You'll need to answer every question in your discussion post. Make sure that you are copy, and pasting the questions in your discussion post, so then when you answer them, we know exactly which question you're answering. Or you could just put number 1, answer it. Number 2, I just like to have the question in front of me as I'm writing. Just an English teacher pet peeve. All right, here are your requirements for your discussion post. This is how your discussion post and all discussion posts will always be graded. And I've attached the rubric. You must include the number of the question in your answer. And then I gave you an example, which I just articulated this. Number 1, the author's purpose. Number 2, the author attempts to, blah, blah, blah. Make sure that you're following the correct format. Format's important in English. You must write in complete sentences, no one-word answers. They will not cut it. You won't love your grade. Your answers must be at least 2 to 3 sentences long. To properly answer these questions, you're probably going to need a paragraph. You must include specific examples, aka concrete details. Get used to that vernacular, we'll use it a lot, to support your claims. Every answer needs to be supported with concrete details. In this class, it's not enough to say, well, the author attracted his audience by being specific. Well, how is he specific? You didn't tell me. You didn't tell me how he related to his audience. If you say he related to his audience by using precise language, well, what type of precise language? Give me an example. You must always support anything you say in AP Lang with examples. We are a class of fact, and the only way things can be fact is if you can prove it. All right, and then you must thoughtfully respond to one peer. A response is not, I agree, I disagree, great answer, way to go, I liked the way you put this. That's not thoughtful. That's not going to cut it. So make sure that you're opening your discussion post and peer response rubric, because this tells you exactly how you're graded on any discussion board in AP Lang. For full points, you need the following. The student's initial post thoroughly addresses all aspects of the question, meets the minimum word and paragraph requirement. That's for relevancy and completeness. For knowledge of class materials, students posting shows thorough knowledge of class materials. You really read and understood the essay. Contribution to class. Students posting supports the creation of knowledge by going beyond what was in the reading and assignment to add insights from personal experience, other classes, outside readings. So you're trying to get that universal edge. You're connecting what you learned from the discussion post to something in the outside world or just your own experience, and in this case, maybe your own experience as a writer. Then this is your response rubric. So this is the rubric for your initial post, and here's for your response. Response to other students directly, addressing tier initial postings with augmentation, correction, challenges, and insightful questions. Response to at least 2 classmates, and responses meet the minimum word paragraph and requirement. Contribution to class. Responses to other students support their pursuit of greater knowledge and are respectful, helpful, and encouraging, even when providing corrections or raising objections. So it's okay to augment and correct something, but do it kindly. Don't go into someone. All right, that was your discussion post rubric. Here's an example of a well-written discussion point. Here's the instructions given to the student. Here's their response, well-written in paragraphs, full sentences, includes a lot of concrete detail. And then here's an excellent student response. I agree with you. I'll let you read it. Good job on your assignment today, and good luck.